So first of all then, Ross, I just wanted to, start the same way I've started with everyone else. Can you just tell us like a little bit about your background and sort of when you fell in love with rugby?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much, for giving me the opportunity to come on your podcast. I probably started falling in love with rugby, really. I was probably like a late bloomer, really. I was playing for Ironsides, where the most of the lads they all probably went through like the age grade rugby. I didn't really do that. I didn't start until I was probably around about 16, really. That's when I started playing. My first club was Tredegar Ironsides. Then I stayed there for quite a while until I was picked up I had a couple of games for like the local clubs around the area. You'd have Treble and Tredegar. And I was picked up by the Bargoed. So, and then that's where I stayed for most of my career up until I moved up to Ebbw.
And obviously you mentioned your first club was for the Ironsides. I know like up the Gwent Valleys, there's loads of rugby clubs, all like tight-knit communities, loads of clubs really close to each other. Yeah. How important is rugby for the Gwent Valleys?
It's absolutely massive, There's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride in the valleys. Yeah. Probably when we was a lot, well, especially when I was like a lot younger, there was a lot of players, I think, who've missed out greatly on opportunities. People who I see as local heroes, of mine, and never aspired really then to go to play for Wales or nothing. But still, in my eyes, they was really good rugby players, where probably if they was around West Wales or that sort of area, they probably would have had better opportunities. But in the Gwent regions, there's a lot of talent. I know it's sort of moved on quite a bit now, where everyone is given opportunities. But when I was a bit younger, there was a lot more people. There was a lot of players at the time which should have had opportunities, but they never actually got them.
Yeah.
But rugby as a whole in Gwent is massive, and even down to like my kids now. My little girl's a gymnast, and my little boy he's just starting into rugby now. And to be fair, the opportunities which they have even from their age is massive, and I take my hat off to these coaches spending a lot of time and effort with these kids, because it's they do a cracking job.
Yeah. And obviously you mentioned then you went on to play for Bargoed. How did you enjoy your time up with Bargoed?
Bargoed is a fantastic club. My coach at the time was a guy called Steve Barber and another guy called David Lynch. The club chairman was a guy called Neil Carter, and to be fair, they run the club. They was fantastic. I made a lot of friends there. It's a funny story, really. We was playing Ironsides against Bargoed, and the team coach at the time, which I didn't know, was a guy called Steve Barber. And I don't know if you ever come across Steve Barber, have you? He's
no, I haven't. No.
Lovely fella, and very passionate about the game. Probably, he's very very passionate about the game.
Yeah.
And he was, we was playing down in like Bargoed Park. And if you've ever played down in Bargoed Park, it's a blinking ruthless place to play,
Yeah.
You go down there on a Wednesday night and in the rain, and it's harder than any place you go in the world. I can assure you that. Like,
I've played up there twice at youth level, and I think we got 50 pointed both times in the rain.
It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. So like I said, it was on a Saturday afternoon. The blinking rain was coming down. And I can remember there was a guy on the side, and he was screaming at me, "Number one, you were this, number one, you were that." So I turned around and I said, "Listen, oh man, I said, keep your mouth shut or I'll be coming off, like, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing I knew, I was being carted off to a Steelman hospital. What I didn't know is the guy who I told to do one was the team coach, Steve Barber, and he come on, he brought a player off. He changed at the side of the pitch, come on, and he filled me in. And probably about a year after, I had a voicemail coming home from work, and it was Steve Barber here, and he said, I'd like you to come down and have a meeting with Bargood. We're looking to sign you.
Yeah.
And I remember going down in the car, and as I was going down in the car with a guy called Robbie Young, fantastic prop. He was the tight end at the time. And I was going down in the car, and he said, I said, listen, I said, I hope I don't go bumping into that guy who sparked me out on the pitch. He says, I think you will. He said, he's the team coach, Steve Barber. Do you know what? The blinking butterflies I had in my belly. But like I said, that was when I got there. The thing which I liked about Bargood is everyone, you'd have no shirkers. So every single person, 2 coaches would be on that field. And for you to get that jersey on a Saturday, you had to fight for it, like, Yeah. I mean, the training down there was absolutely brutal. We'd be pushing scrummaging machines, or the old-fashioned scrummaging machine. We'd be pushing up the banking, and at any time, if one person out of the 8 would show any lack of spirit, then they was going round to do a run, But like I said, every single person, if you ever walk through Bargood on a Saturday afternoon, you see that everyone is like walking through blinking, Toulouse or somewhere. Everyone got the Bargood jerseys on, and and the kids are wearing the tops. And that was probably when you go on about Gwent Rugby down there in Bargood, for like a small village, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride there, a lot of pride. And for you to get that jersey, I was pretty successful, in that team I was in. Also, we was all successful in that team we was in. We won the league. It was like Division 1. But like you said, you would never ever, for you to get that Bargood jersey, you had to fight for it. You had to, and there was no easy ride. So Steve Barber and Di Lynch would put a team out on a Saturday, and you knew that you've done everything you can to earn that jersey. Like,
yeah, that's like a good show of sort of the values of rugby as well, doesn't it? That obviously you had that exchange with Steve, and then obviously he didn't hold that against you. He sort of respected that. If anything.
Yeah, but like I said, when I first got there, there was no coaches. The first memory I've had, there was no coaches.
Yeah.
And I stood there. I thought, who's going to come and speak to me then? But every single person was training, and they'd have a game the thing what they call is like bish bash, where they'd be everyone playing a game of rugby league, including the coaches, and he'd just come walking off, and it was just a formal shaking of the hand, and I knew straight away, this man means business. If you want to be part of his team, you're going to work as hard as he is, And like you said, there was people there which I still today hold, in the utmost respect, like Anthony Vinnie Lott, Lee Meads, like Darren Buffton, Lewis Wayman. There's stacks of boys which I could, and that's only a couple. Like them boys will, and like I said, when I'm on about missing opportunities, them boys would train as hard as any other professional. Like Lee Meads is probably one of the fast. Lee Pearson, probably one of the fastest wingers I've ever played with.
Yeah.
And when you go on about people working hard, them lads would work hard. So there was opportunities missed probably by the WRU for them to go further. Because I saw firsthand the hard work which they would be putting in week out just to get them jerseys.
And obviously you talk about the pride and the passion at Bargoed, and that's sort of like reciprocated, isn't it, with Ebbw, sort of a similar community feel to the club and stuff. So how did your like move into Ebbw come about, and how are you enjoying your time with them at the moment?
Well, it's like Ebbw Vale will, it'll always hold a place in my heart. Like, I was given the opportunity. Obviously, when you're a youngster, you have people who you see as like when you first get into rugby, people like Dyle Llewellyn, Kingsley Jones, Mark Jones, these players which it's probably like your child heroes, when you're growing up, you see them like Byron Haywood and people like that, it only shows which they've already done in their lives, So when I was sort of growing up, Ebbw Vale was where I'd always want to play, I knew that was a step above everything which I had to do. I knew I had to work a lot harder. And what had happened is Neil Edwards at the time was a player there, Nelly, and they dropped down into the championship. It's the Division 1, I believe. And what he'd done, he built up a team of local players from Gwent. And what Nelly wanted to do, he wanted to get a lot of all the players like in the Gwent area, and he built up a team. And the team which he built up, was in my eyes blinking outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Even from the first day, our first training session meet up in in Brimhouse School, the players which we had around us, the likes of Ashley Sweet, Damien Hudd, Ronnie Keens, Robert Sevenoaks, they was, just to see these people around there who you know, and that they're great rugby players. Now they put in everyone in the same cluster. If I'm honest, I was pretty nervous because I knew that it was going to be not so much about scrummaging anymore. I'd have to be working a lot harder with my brain. Which any coach have ever coached me knew that's going to probably be a hard task, if I'm honest. But I knew straight away, that this team which Nelly is putting together is pretty special.
And what are some of your favourite moments then from obviously before like rising up into the Premiership?
Well, what Nelly put into us was he wanted a fit team, right? And for you to be into Nelly's setup, the boys worked unbelievably hard. And I will honestly say to this day, that was probably the fittest team easily. Although I think we won the championship probably about 4 times in a row, I believe, before we actually, or 4 or 5 times in a row before they put us into the Premiership. And that cluster of players and the ethos around the team, everything. So the team values which you have, which Ebbw Vale, we'd have these like value meetings where you'd have to you'd be honest with yourselves and the players around you and everyone who was coming into our team. They had to be honest and work hard, otherwise you wouldn't fit. And when we was winning the championship quite a few times, and it was frustration more than anything, because we knew we was good enough to be in our Premiership. It's just it felt like if the WRU was moving the goalposts all the time. But for me, the early days playing for Ebbw Vale, winning the championship so many times with the team which we was having, it was outstanding. At the minute, there's not many of us left of the original team. Myself, Rob Sevenoaks, like Dan Eamond, Di Jones. That's about it, I think, who's left out of the original ones,
So sort of moving on from that then, and then obviously getting promoted to the Premiership, and then obviously that peaked then when you won the league. How important was it to have a core of the squad that had sort of risen with the team?
It's it's been fantastic, because, and it's not just the core of the team. It's the same. Like I said, players come, players go, and when you talk about the core of the squad, they've got smaller as the years have gone on. It's gone quite smaller.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic, and it's not just about the core of the squad. It's the coaches which we've had, around us. We've been, as a group of players, as Ebbw, from the time which I've had there, our coaches have been fantastic, and it's not just the coaches. We've got the backroom staff. We got the medical team, the supporters, everyone around Ebbw. I genuinely believe it's a fantastic club to play for, and it makes you want to train harder to get that jersey, and me and Robert Sevenoaks, we're probably the oldest in the squad, and probably that I'm 40 now, to be honest, and should I hang my boots up? Probably not yet. I'm still there.
Yeah.
We got a fantastic coach with Greg Woods, and a guy Lewis, and this Gethin Robinson, who finished back a couple of years ago. Now he's our fitness coach. Yeah. So it's things are moving in the right direction again.
And you touched on some of the names you played with all the way from Div 1 up into the Premiership, the likes of Damien Hurd and Ashley Sweet. Who are some of the best players you've played with and against during your time with Ebbw?
During my time with Ebbw, to be honest, I've been here for so long, and it's great to see. We have like a lot of dragons coming there.
Yeah.
All the dragons. I take my hat off to any of the Premiership players. Any of the pro players. They deserve what they got. We're the likes of any of the semi-pro boys. They get up in the morning, they go to work, they do their graft. It's no difference for the for the professionals. They do their thing. Some of the best players, really, Harrison Keddy, he come there as a young lad. It's nice to see, like, Joe Franchi. He come from RTBs, and now he's our captain.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest. For me to go around and name certain players, it'd be wrong, really, because I played against and with so many, and I, like I said, anyone who trains as hard as, which the players you see every day, they're all top players, like. So I for me to say certain players, I don't know. There's so many of them.
I know from a props perspective, is there anyone that you sort of like having like some battles with? Because I know a few years ago you had a good battle with Marfu boy, didn't you, from Cardiff?
Yeah. He was, obviously you take loads of great players, and I think there's a lot of ones in the championship as well, which is going to give you a tough game, like.
Yeah.
I probably like to say one of some of the toughest battles I have is probably against Robert Sevenoaks, my teammate.
Yeah.
And that's because none of us want to take a backward step in training. And we'd probably make Greg Woods' job hard because you want to get something done in the scrum, and we are just constantly loggerheads at each other. But in the Premiership, I've played against like the current, like, Leon Brown.
Yeah.
He's there's a reason why they play for Wales, like that. Wyn Jones, there's a reason why they play for Wales.
Yeah.
Them boys, I wish them all the best. And I've been, like I said, I've been very fortunate to play with people who've gone on to play for Wales.
Yeah.
It's been good.
And I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, like briefly, about the sort of whenever we were trying to get promoted and there was like they kept moving the goalposts and stuff, and there's a lot of like friction, or like everybody sort of throws their opinion around, don't they, of like what the purpose of the Premiership is. Do you find it frustrating playing in the Premiership where some teams are like all focused on development, some teams are just going all out? Do you think there needs to be a sort of balance?
Yeah, I think that it has to be a balance. I think the Premiership, I've always looked at the Premiership as it is an in between. You know, that's what it is. It's a fantastic, fantastic balance, really, for anyone who's just about to go into professional and anyone who's coming down. Myself, I have been fortunate to actually make it into the professional, so I've been happy enough in the Premiership. And like I said, the youngsters coming in, you know, they have to play against the likes of, you know, like the likes of Bargood or against Ebbw, and you know, otherwise if they just jump in straight from you know whatever, they straight to somewhere like the Dragons or something, where and I don't mean in any way a more cleaner sort of game. No, I'm not saying that like the Premiership is dirty in any way.
No,
you go to somewhere like Carmarthen Quins on a Wednesday night, that's what makes you tough, you know. You go to somewhere like Bargood on a wet Monday night, that's what makes you tough. Playing against these players in the Premiership, I think it's a great balance for players, you know.
Yeah, I was just thinking like Chris Coleman had
Chris Coleman
seasons with Ebbw, didn't he? And I know he's still sort of on the fringes of the Dragon squad, but he's a young prop. He looks like he has a lot of talent. But I'd like to think that he's probably learned quite a lot from row with Ebbw, learning off the likes of yourselves and the other props at Ebbw, going to the likes of Carmarthen and you know the likes of Manchester and places like that.
And I'd like to think so, because you know, like anyone who've played with myself, I'm more about the scrum than anything else, you know. And I'd like to think, you know, anyone who's come around with me or played with me, know that I can, if they are my teammate, then I'm going to give 100%. If they're playing against me, I'm going to give that 100% as well. And there's, you know, anyone coming into our environment, you know, and in the Premiership environment, no, there's two things going to happen, you know. One is it's a massively fast game, and you've got to be on the money. And the second one is the scrums are a lot harder. Now you take somewhere like down in Cardiff, where you're playing on like the AstroTurf the 4G sort of thing, and you've got to be on your game. You've got fast rugby and you've got heavy scrum. So you know that's where the experience comes in a bit, you know. But like I said, like someone like Chris Coleman, he is a very good one for the future, like, you know.
Obviously you had the likes of an Iron up with you as well. He's smashing it for the Dragons as well, isn't he?
And like I said, you know, it's good to see the players which you watch them on telly, you know, and you see what they've become, and it's fantastic. Especially like an old sort of guy like myself now watching the youngsters come through. It's good.
It's good for the publicity of the Premiership as well. If you see someone on the telly on S4C on a Friday night playing for Ebbw, like a 19-year-old in Iron, say, and then you see him playing for the Dragons the next season, it gives the Premiership really good publicity as well, doesn't it?
Of course it does. And like Ebbw had a spate of games where we was on telly for like 3 weeks in a row, you know. And people was watching him work, you know. You go to the paper shop and people ask you how Ebbw's getting on, and it was starting to get really good, you know. And I think that's why the Premiership is a good balance for rugby, because you know, it's a good in between, you know, and it's a good level for people to watch. And it just shows it's not all about the Pro 12. Is it the Pro 12 called?
Pro 14. Pro 16 next year, I think it's going to be.
Pro 16. So it's not all about that. You know, there is talent in that Premiership as well. So I know Pontypool was unlucky to you know, obviously when COVID happened, like. But I'm sure they're gonna come in all guns blazing when they get their opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be good to obviously when the Premiership cut the 4 teams out, there was a big blow for Gwent, really, wasn't it? Because obviously we lost Bargoed, Keys and Bedwas in the same chop, didn't we? So we sort of, I think for Gwent we need another 1 or 2 teams back in the Premiership.
It's going to be massive frustration. We lost Ashley Sweet. You know, he's obviously gone to Pontypool.
Yeah.
Great forward. He's probably one of the best line-out forwards I've played with. I got total respect for him.
Yeah.
You've had quite a few injuries and you've bounced back up, and that just shows how important rugby is for him as a person.
Yeah.
And hoping to keep, probably if he had a lesser heart, then he probably would have just packed it in.
Yeah.
You know, so I wish him all the best when he goes to Pontypool. He'd probably go back in the scrum, mind. But
there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt.
So yeah, just moving on then, I just wanted to touch on sort of COVID and the effect that it had on you personally.
On me personally, if I'm brutally honest, with rugby itself, I completely missed it. You know, it's a massive part of what we do. You know, it's not just going about out training probably 3 times a week if we got a big game, or it's about seeing the people who you see, you know, for the last 10 years, like, then that comes to a stop. At the same time, you can't be selfish about it, because you know people are in a worse position than yourself. So, you know, not seeing the Ebbw players for however many months, it was pretty tough. You know, we did talk and through the WhatsApp groups and whatever, you know. So when the time comes when we can all get back together, it's going to be pretty special. COVID on myself and my family, you know, we all had it. We all had COVID. So that was a pretty testing time. But yeah, you know, if we saw firsthand really what COVID can do. So and how important it is now to just stick to whatever plans people put forward, stick to them, because it's important. Like.
And over your time off then, how did you sort of keep your fitness up or just keep busy? And did the club like put on any like Zoom socials or stuff for you to do?
Yeah, so like I said, Ebbw got a fantastic sort of like fitness coach, a guy called Catherine Robinson. He was sending a lot of stuff out. We'd have to stick to his plans, and obviously send them back to him, like, because that's what Greg wants. You know, he wants that when everyone can get back together and get back into it. He wants to get back into it, because he know when we all start and when the season kicks off, when it may be, he wants a fit squad, like. So, and that's one of the things what Greg is massively into is a fit team. Apart from what they send out, I normally do my own thing. So, you know, I'm probably like a caveman when it comes to training, really. I use a tire, I got my punch bags, I got my weight at the top of the garden. So I'm like a blinking caveman, really, the way I train.
Yeah. So
no, I always keep myself sort of fit, and I have put on a bit of weight, if I'm honest, but I think that was part of I think that's just part of COVID, I think.
And obviously, last season, whenever that was now, Ebbw finished, obviously when it was curtailed, second from bottom. Didn't really look like Ebbw were going to get relegated towards the end. It looked like it would have been Ravens. A disappointing season as a whole.
It was a disappointing season, but you know, there was a lot of things what went on at the time. You know, injuries which you can't foresee.
Yeah, you
can't foresee injuries. You know, the squad never took a backward step in their training. You know, never. It was just we were just unlucky.
Yeah,
you know, we didn't change anything. It's just the way things are, and that's sport. That is the brutal thing really with sport.
Yeah.
It wasn't working for us. Like I said, I don't think we would have went down. I think we would have done enough to keep up, and I genuinely believe that. But it was as a whole, it was disappointing. But things were always going on. It was unforeseeable, really, and without injuries, I think we had to take what we had to take at the time, like.
Yeah. And obviously, looking forward then to, well, first of all, I know you've had some time back training. So how are you enjoying that, and how important has that been to sort of get back in with the boys?
Oh, it's really massive, The squad which Ebbw have got at the moment, I'm probably the oldest there, probably by about 2 or 3 years. The one next to me is Robert Sevenoaks, and then you've got a couple of the other ones from like the core of the squad, a guy called Di Langdon, sorry, he's gone. Dan Amond and like Guy Jones, Lance Randall. So these boys are still there. Obviously, we got Joe Franchi as our new coach. His brother Dom. These boys are going to lead by example. How long have I got left in rugby? Probably, I don't know, but I'm still there to fight for it. We're about 2 weeks into training now, and it's been good. It's been good, the sessions which they've put onto us. It's been testing, very testing.
Yeah. And
it's like I said, the squad which we got around us now, it's exciting, and I want to be part of that squad, because where we left off, just before obviously COVID hit, we got some unfinished business. Like I said, at the time where we had a lot of injuries. Now we got a fully fit, touch wood, we got a fully fit squad, and I genuinely believe when we get playing again, we're going to be like a formidable side.
And I know Ebbw have announced some quality signings, like Dav Smith, the Sevens boy, and stuff like that. How are the new signings settling in, and are they all sort of buying into the culture and stuff at Ebbw?
Yeah, so they and I think that's one of the main things which they'll see straight away is hard work, because like Ebbw is, it's a steel town, it's a lot of pride there, and if you're going to talk about pride in a valley, you haven't got to look any further than Ebbw. There's a lot of pride there. So when them players go there, the first thing they'll see is, especially the like I said, like the core of the boys, even they lead. Like you've got someone like Rob Sevenoaks, who's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he work all day, and then he goes there to play rugby in the night. People like that, you just gotta look at them and follow sometimes, including myself. I follow people like him, But the core of the squad, so the squad which they got now, I'm excited to see what they can bring.
Yeah, when you got people like everybody sort of like working hard and like buying into that group, it sort of does push you then, doesn't it? Because obviously everyone has off days, everyone has days when they get up and you sort of like, you just can't be asked. But when you have a group that are all pushing each other to do better, you sort of you look at that, and that sort of motivates you then.
Yeah, of course it does. Everyone. I speak about myself. When I go to work after, when I leave work and I got to go to Ebbw training, we probably on the journey over when the blinking rain is lashing against the window. Like, do you want to get out of the car? Probably not. But when you see players rolling up and that they've done the same as you throughout the day, we got school teachers, we got tilers, we got police officers. They're not different to me. Just because I might have had to get up an hour earlier, or they've had to get up an hour earlier, we're all in the same boat. Yeah. And that's I've always been. On your way to training, like I got you see like Ironsides training or travel training, ain't no difference. There's no different there. Even when we were training over in Ebbw and you see like the little kids running around, we'd all sat in our cars, don't want to get out the car because it's hammering down with rain, and you got little kids running around with it,
Yeah.
So we're all in the same boat in our sense, because we're all working men, but at the same time, you're all striving for the same thing. You're all striving to get that jersey. And it doesn't matter if I'm 40 or 21, I still got that same anger to get that jersey back on.
Yeah. So I just wanted to finish then on like some like more personal questions, a little bit about yourself. So first of all, I know you obviously your work life and your family life takes up a lot of your time, but what are your favorite things to do outside of rugby?
First, favorite things to do outside rugby. So my daughter, she's a cheerleader. Extremely proud of her. And that's one of the things with playing for Ebbw, really. My family was sort of built around when I was playing for Ebbw.
Yeah.
My daughter was born, my son was born, and so my family was sort of built as I was a rugby player. So spending time with them is massively important. Going back to COVID, if there was any sort of, and I don't mean this anyway, if anything sort of good came out of my experience with COVID, is spending time with my family. I work long hours, but not playing rugby when I'd be going out on a Tuesday and a Thursday and just spending time with them. So, you know, I get a chance to see my little girl and my little boy every night. And to be honest, you know, it's just anything to do with family, you know, that's what I like doing. I'm very bad at any other sport, really. I can't play golf, I can't play cricket, you know, I anything else, but I am much good at rugby, really, but still.
You just push people hard.
Yeah, I just work hard.
And so did you have any favorite like rugby idol growing up or sporting idol?
Probably my sporting idol would be probably I like a lot of boxing, so it'd be, you know, like your Mike Tyson's and things like that. Like rugby players, you know, it'd have to be some of the props. Like Oz Durant. I used to like Oz Durant playing for South Africa.
Yeah.
I used to like watching them. You know, they was blinking brutal, and he was a farmer. So Oz Durant's a farmer, you know, and he's a big man, big heavy man. And I watched a documentary when I was a kid, you know, and he'd be finishing rugby, and then he'd be going back to his farm, and I like that sort of thing. So probably Oz Durant as a sporting hero, really. And my other thing would probably be Mike Tyson, and, you know, probably every boxing fan's hero, I suppose.
And do you ever go to like karaoke song or sort of like initiation song?
My karaoke song would be probably I Swear. Yeah, that's probably one of the main ones which I sing quite regular.
How are your karaoke skills?
Very bad. Very bad. And my daughter's laughing there to say
it's terrible.
Very bad.
And it's a bit of a weird one, but have you ever had a weird excuse, or not necessarily like an excuse, but a weird reason for like missing training or a game?
You know, I've had quite a few. You know, probably some of the Ebbw players would. In fact, we had to do on a Thursday. We have like a, that's what they call it. On the I can't think it's called. Like on a Thursday, you have it's like a players sort of meeting sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, like after training.
After training, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the players read off all of the excuses I'd made up not to go training. There were some pearlers there, honestly, some pearlers. But no, I don't know. I do try and get it as much as I can.
Yeah.
But probably the one I'd use regular is if like my, what you say? The bunny? What? Tell me quick.
Yes, last week.
Hang on 1 second.
Last week, did you have it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, listen.
You just been thrown under the bus by your daughter.
I know. Right, so Ebbw, back before the COVID.
Yeah.
My little boy wanted to go and see. He wanted to go and see Peter Rabbit.
Yeah.
So they all agreed to have a couple of pints. I was on the way home from RGC.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make it. And they said, why? And I said, I need to go and see Peter Rabbit. And I had the pee taken out of me big time for that. Like, so, but it's a genuine excuse, you know. That was as a dad, I think sometimes you gotta choose them sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play. And then a little bit, so like sort of teammates round then. So sort of throw your teammates under the bus. First of all, is who never pays for a round?
Who never pays for a round? If I'm honest, I can't mention any of the Ebbw ones because they'll probably say to me that I don't go out for a pint.
Yeah.
Probably Lee Pearson.
Yeah.
Good. So if I went out for a few pints, it'd be with Lee Pearson, and he'd probably be the one. Not to buy a round, he'd always wait for me. So Lee Pearson, yeah.
Who's the best drinker?
The best drinker, I would say, probably Lance. Probably Lance in Ebbw. He's probably the best drinker.
Who's the feistiest?
The feistiest would be probably Di Jones. Di Jones, the Ebbw scrum half.
Yeah.
He's probably the most feistiest.
Typical scrum half.
Unbelievable.
Who's the scariest?
The scariest player. Is this with Ebbw or anyone? Anyone. I'd have to go with Lee Meads, I think. I'd have to go with Lee Meads and Bargood. He's probably the one who would give me the most stick.
Yeah.
And when I know that we are playing Bargood on a Saturday afternoon, he'll text me every single day through the week, completely every day through the week, telling me what he's going to do to me and whatnot. And when it comes on a Saturday, you know, he'll give you the slight little dig in the face, and you know, there's no harm, but he's probably the scariest, probably. And
then lastly, who's the funniest?
The funniest, I would say, probably Rob Seminoaks. He's someone who could probably, when you go there after an hard day's work, you know that he's gone through the same as you throughout the day.
Yeah.
And you go there on any time, you know, and he'll probably light up your day, to be honest.